Warner's Shows brings you 3 premium railway modelling events throughout the year. Join us this October at the East of England Showground for the National Festival of Railway Modelling. View over 30 hand-picked layouts from a variety of gauges and scales demonstrating excellent hobby skills, including Rivendell, Grange-over-Sands, Halland, Orange River, Ellesmere, Sabins End, Fenchurch St Peters and up the line. Browse and buy hobby items from over 100 traders and pick up new skills from free demonstrations from experts. Book today and save £2 as a BRM subscriber, gain 30 minutes early entry and a free show programme.
I got into the hobby very early, at a very young age. My father bought me a train set for my Christmas one year. It started off with a Hornby Dublo Ginty engine, and I was into model railways right up till I was at school and up to about the age of 16. Well, basically gave modelling up then because I went into work full time and never really had the desire to carry on with modelling, and I got back into it probably about 15 years ago because I actually work on the railway. I was a driver, so I'm a retired driver now, but I was a train driver. The period I was on the footplate was from the mid to early 80s right up until 2010. So my memories were of everything BR Blue. As I say, that's why we built the layout to basically show what the Waverley route would have looked like had it survived into the BR Blue era. Hi, I'm Graham Moyes and I'm a member of Scottish Diesel and Electric Group, and we brought Hazelbank to the Doncaster Showground to exhibit, and we're double O gauge layout set in started off yesterday in about early 1970s, and we progressively got later through to the 1980s, and we're running in about 1984, 85 today. Behind me to the left is the Gala Water Bridge over Gala Water, and as we go round to the left you'll see Hazelbank sidings, and the Hazelbank sidings we've made it so it served the quarry Hazelbank, because there's a quarry in situ Hazelbank, and it was never served by the railway, but we've made it so that if it was served by the railway, that's what it would have looked like. And we've got a Hazelbank signal box as we go round, and then we go off scene under a road bridge. Well, we started it in April of 2010, and it took about 2.5 years to completely rebuild and to rewire. In the SDG we have a massive range of stock. We've got about 7 or 8 members in the club that bring their stock along to our show, and each of us have got our own specific speciality. We've got Mark in the club that has the RTC equipment, and we've got Jim, who is an ex-retired engineer of the railway, so he's into all the small, if it's small and it's yellow, Jim's built it, and it's all hand built and runs on the layout. And everything, all our locos are all sound fitted, and with usually something like Howes or Southwest Digital or Biffleman Lego chip sound. Our locos are also all totally rebuilt. They're detailed by Andrew Donnelly mostly and Simon Barrett. Andrew Donnelly lives in Portugal, and all our locos are either resprayed or they're detailed by Andrew, and Simon does all our weathering. All of our stock's all weathered for reality. The scenic elements on the layout, all the scenery was built by Malcolm Donnelly. All the buildings and everything are all hand built, and I'm really pleased how it turned out, really. The Fiddler Yard, we've got a total of 16 lines in the Fiddler Yard, but we've got some long roads and short roads in there, so we can run probably up to about 25, 30 different trains, because we have long formations such as our 36 MGR wagon load, and we can do short like single bobber car DMUs and some short freight consists. And you know, we can run quite a few different trains, so it's good, because with it being a roundy layout, you're not seeing the same stuff coming around constantly. There's quite a large number of trains on the layout for variety. It's feeling nice when people come up and compliment the layout, when you consider the amount of work that's being put in by, it's not only about the scenery on the layout, which is beautiful, built by Malcolm Donnelly, but the stock is what makes the layout, and it's why people love the layout, because the stock's built to a very, very high standard.
My name's Paul Hopkins. This is my layout, Redford Junction. It's a fictitious place, but it's a real place in West Sussex, and the track plans and the locality is based around Midhurst and Petworth. It's one of these layouts that's evolved. It started off, I joined the Three Mill Society in 1996, and the group I belong to, they make modular boards. And to join that group, I had to make a modular board. And the modular board actually is the middle part of this layout. And it's gone through a number of iterations, but we've now made it into a proper layout. So it's been part of a roundy job, it's been part of a smaller thing, but now it's actually the focal point of the layout. When you model in 3mm to the foot, you really have to make everything. It's a modeller's scale, and that's the attraction to it. And that's the reason I changed from 4mm to 3. So pretty much all the track work on this layout is handmade. The society that I belong to, the Three Mill Society, they provide the track bases and the track, and you have to make it. The point work's all handmade by, a lot of it by a friend of mine. But the buildings, some are scratch built, some are converted from HO buildings. And you start finding things that, from other scales that you can adapt. There's quite a lot of buildings like that on here as well. I think it's bringing it together as a whole, because it started off, I didn't know what to do when I first joined the society, and I went down the route that everybody else does probably, 12mm to the foot gauge, which was the old Trian gauge. I followed that, then realised actually there's something better, but I'm too far gone now with 12 to change. But it's actually bringing it together and making it work, and having something that's different that people like to look at exhibitions. And exhibition work for us is actually quite attractive. It's nice to get out and let people see there are other scales. 3mm to the foot actually is a very nice scale. Redford's actually a real place in West Sussex. It's just to the northwest of Midhurst, and they did plan to build a railway, so that was the place you could set the scene. But nothing actually happened apart from working out the land. So when you start from the front of the left-hand side of the layout, you go through the tunnel, and that's a replication of the tunnel at Midhurst. And then you come to the station area with its bay platform and all the station forecourt, and then the loco shed. And that's, we normally have that as a diorama during exhibitions, but we do run things in and out in there. And there's some really nice, attractive locos in there. The most difficult one to build actually is the little Brighton Terrier tank. It's very, very tiny. It's quite attractive, and it reminds you of Hayling Island, There's a few others on there too, and the breakdown crane and things of that sort. So as you leave the loco shed, goes further down, that's the new board then with the goods yard. And that was the bit that was missing really from a model railway scene, is having a goods yard. So we've based that very, very loosely on Petworth. And it's going to be the focal point for sugar beet traffic, which is what they used to do in the area. So that'd be quite interesting. And then going down further, you get on the next board, which is the wood yard, the market garden, and it's got a little, in the wood yard area, it's got a kiln, or I don't quite know what it is. It's a little building that I found in a junk bin at one of the exhibitions. And it looks like the bottom half of a windmill, but it's got a grid on the top. No one knows what it is, but everyone that comes to it actually looks at it and thinks, oh, what's that? And they ask us what it is, and no one really knows. Also on that board, there's we were at one show, and this lady was going around peering in all the layouts. And I said to her, what are you looking for? So he said, I'm actually looking for a chicken coop. I've never seen a chicken coop on the layout before. So we thought, oh, you're right, we haven't either. So that night we went home, we went on the internet, got a few pictures, made a chicken coop and put it back on the following morning, and with all the chickens in it. And so I said, come and have a look at this, we've done it. And she said, that's great, thank you very much. And as you leave that, it goes across the level crossing, and it's a working level crossing, it actually works. And the signals are interlocked with it as well. And then that goes through the tunnel, and it takes you into the fiddle yard the other end. But this will still carry on, it's still popular, people still like to see it, and we're still taking invitations to it as well. So it's still planned to be around in 2018, but we're getting a bit older now, so we're not going to do quite so many. Last year we did 19 exhibitions, and that was a little bit too much.
My name is John Cox, and the layout I'm operating is Newcastle by the Water from Alsager Railway Club. We've got around about 70 members in the club. We've got 8 different layouts. We can go 8 years with different layouts to venues. We have done this year 25 exhibitions. The layout goes back 20 years. It was designed by my cousin, which was Fred Johnson. He was the man that really went into it and did all the planning and what have you. We just followed what he was doing. Well, I started in 1989. First of all, I was into double O when I first got into the model railway. And then I was talked into doing N-gauge because you can get more in a smaller space. The layout itself took 3 years to build. But in that 3 years it did go out 3 times to exhibitions. To set it up from the van to setting up with the train running takes us about an hour. It's called Newcastle by the Water because down the bottom end we've got a castle, and on the campsite behind there's running water that goes down into a Volvo windscreen washer. That's how it's worked. It's pumped back up and run down the estuary and then back in. We have got canoeists that try to get up the river. The most trickiest part for me is the scenery painting. I'm not very good at painting, but my cousin, he was the painter. That was his job. He was a figure painter for Dalton's. He did all the paint work. Since it was last done on DVD, we took all the station canopies off, and then we put lights on and did 1 or 2 alterations. It was about time. After 20 years it was getting a bit on, like everybody else. It wasn't intention to have lights, but when we took the canopies off we decided to do lighting on it to brighten it up, and it looks good when the coaches go past. You can see the light shining on the top of the coaches. What it is, we just positioned them on the platform, and underneath we've got a bar that's live and negative, and we just connect it to that all the way along. Yes, in the graveyard, one of the ex-members bought a, well, what can you say, like a grave with a person that came up, had a look, and then goes back down. We call it Anorak. We have got a poem that goes with this, which people read and then they see what happens. So it's another thing as we added on after we built the thing. And we're keeping this layout, and we are building another one exactly the same size as this one, with real water on again, and we're hoping that will be ready perhaps in 2 years' time. I must thank Carl, Andy, Keith, Richard and Steve. They are my men for the layout for operating it. The main thing that people talk about is that real water, and they can't believe it's real water until we dip our fingers in and flick it at them, then they realise it's real water. Yes, I said, well, why can't we have real water? And people said, ooh, hold on a minute, water and electric don't go together. But I proved them wrong. It's been on there, well, 20 years. We've had 1 or 2 mishaps with it, like people putting the spout on underneath that catches the water, but forgot to cut the end off, so it flooded the layout. We've had that done twice on us, but we learn by our mistakes.
Shows brings you 3 premium railway modelling events throughout the year. Join us this October at the East of England Showground for the National Festival of Railway Modelling. View over 30 handpicked layouts in a variety of gauges and scales demonstrating excellent hobby skills, including Johannesdorf, Just 4, Lock Door, Meerfam East Junction, Moorside Valley, New Bryford, Alton TMD and Overlord. Browse and buy hobby items from over 100 traders and pick up new skills from free demonstrations by experts. Book today and save £2 as a BRM subscriber, gain 30 minutes early entry and a free show programme.